Now on display at New York's Museum of Modern Art, the pioneering work of Meret Oppenheim. Serena Altschul remembers a prolific artist whose imagination knew no boundaries.
Her work spans over half a century of artistic styles, from the abstract to the surreal. But Meret Oppenheim is an artist who defies labels.
Meret Oppenheim is one of the great modern artists. She's fiercely original and she's very hard to pigeonhole.
Anne Umland is the curator of the Meret Oppenheim retrospective, now on view at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. How would you define Meret Oppenheim? She doesn't want to be defined.
That makes it very difficult. There isn't a one-liner for Meret Oppenheim.
Born in Germany in 1913 to a German Jewish father and Swiss mother, Oppenheim and her siblings spent much of their lives in Switzerland. Her grandmother, Lisa Wenger, was a beloved children's book author and illustrator, and Oppenheim's first artistic influence.
She did beautiful watercolors.
Oppenheim's niece, also named Lisa Wenger, has chronicled her aunt's life in 2 publications.
They supported the fact that Meret loves magic and fairy tales because her grandfather, my great-grandfather, used to read to them every night some stories.
And so, as a young girl, she began to draw and paint. She left school and moved to Paris at the age of 18 with the dream of becoming an artist. There, she frequented the haunts of painters and sculptors like Alberto Giacometti and Hans Arp.
They're the first people to see her work, in fact, and to encourage her to exhibit with these artists and poets known as the Surrealists.
2 years later, Oppenheim joined an exhibit of these surrealists, propelling herself onto the Paris art scene.
She always would say later in life, the Surrealists were her first audience. Like, they were the ones who took her seriously.
Then it happened. In 1936, Oppenheim created a piece that threatened to define her. It all started with a fur bracelet she made and wore to breakfast with Pablo Picasso and his girlfriend, artist Dora Maar. Oppenheim was just 22 years old.
Either Dora Maar or Picasso looks over at her bracelet and says, "Oh, you can cover anything with fur these days." And then Meret Oppenheim looks down at her cup and says, "Even this teacup."
The art world was both appalled and amazed by the object, as Oppenheim called it, and MoMA quickly snatched it up where it remains today in their permanent collection.
So here it is. Here's the fur-covered teacup. People came to take this so seriously, but it began as a joke.
I can't even imagine what her friends and colleagues and art folks were saying to her. You know, you've got to cover everything in fur. Just put fur on it. And she said no.
She said no. She said, "I am not going to be known as the artist who covers things in fur."
While her career was on the rise, so was the war in Europe, and Oppenheim was forced to return to Switzerland. This began what she called her crisis period.
From 1937 to 1954, 17 years. In fact, in 1937, she writes that she never even touched a pen or anything. She didn't do anything.
She felt her work lacked substance during this time, but this retrospective shows a return to her roots of fantasy and fairy tales. You can almost feel her grandmother's presence just with the stories and it's beautiful.
Right. The title for this painting is Daphne and Apollo, so you know that she had that Greco-Roman myth in mind, but as usual gives it her own particular spin.
According to Oppenheim, one day she woke up from her crisis and went into full creative mode again until she died of a heart attack in 1985. This photo was taken the day before.
I think certainly Meret Oppenheim is lucky in the sense that she did make it into the history books, and she lived to age 72. And I find it very moving how steadfast she was in always wanting to reinvent herself. You can walk through the show and see countless different ideas on the wall, but it's all her.